Good evening. I'm Holly Frost, and you're watching Channel 6 News.
You're headed to Ornaments, the Christmassiest town ever. And since you're from there, you'll give the story a hometown spin.
Holly Winters. Is that you?
It's actually Holly Frost now.
Where's the ring?
It is such a joy to watch these faces jot down what they might like from Santa.
And we're out.
Drinks, please. Do you want to show me the vacuum man? I wrote Satan by mistake when I was 7.
Isn't that how old you were when your parents
Were hacked to death? Oh, yeah. Chad, what's going on? A monster took the mayor. Look, somebody has to, sing from the soul. It's a foot from a person. It's on, bitch.
Welcome back to another edition of the special stocking stuffers of 2022. As you heard, today's movie is a little different, except is it? Is it a Cozy Cardigan Christmas movie that just happens to involve murder? Yes, it is. And while this is a joy and something I do a lot, I still can't do it alone. So I have brought on a special guest. Not only is this guest very special, for being a talented writer and artist, but also now has a even specialer place in my heart for having introduced me to this movie, Letters to Satan Claus. And with that, welcome Abby Denson.
Hello, glad to be here.
Oh, we are delighted to have you. Especially because this was your movie pick.
Yes, and it was actually my first time seeing it. I remember when this came out back in 2020, winter of 2020, the deep depths of the pandemic.
Which
and,
in our years now is 7 years ago, I think, by this point.
Yeah, I remember at some point somehow some algorithm decided Abby might like this, and I saw it go by like a trailer online, and I was like, this looks good, except for I didn't have cable, and I didn't end up seeing it, and I messaged a friend of mine who did have cable. I was like, oh yeah, how was it? And he told me it was fun, but I just didn't get to, I didn't think about it anymore. But then we were talking about me coming on here, and I was like, hey, I want to see that Letters to Satan Claus. So we figured it out, and it is still cable. I'm sure going to explain all about that. But it is accessible currently, legally at least. And it was, so I'm really glad that I finally got to see it.
Yeah, so I watched it by cable. I did that thing where you just search for a movie on cable, and it's not airing at all. It's not, and I don't know why it's not. It's the SyFy Channel. It's honestly, they do have some great new content right now, but it's still the SyFy Channel. They're cramming and pulling Harry Potter marathons every Sunday, which apparently is science fiction. I didn't know that, but SyFy Channel seems to think it is. So you can't just look for it on DVR. You have to search for it and then rent it, but it's a free rental. So you watch it for free, but you have to press a button to say rent. It's very confusing. It is also, according to Just Watch, it is on Fubo, which I still don't understand what Fubo is, but it says you can watch it there. Fubo?
Yeah,
Fubo.
my understanding is that if you have a cable service, you can I ended up using a cable service with the SyFy app and watching it on demand there, but it still had commercials. But it was worth every commercial.
It
not to spoiler
is! No, so I'm going to spoil one thing. And I said to Abby, I'm I have one problem with this movie. And the problem is, I wish this episode that we're recording now was the 7th or 8th episode, because this one is so refreshing and fun and kind of is such a great send-up of the Cozy Cardigan formula that it would have been a good, because what tends to happen is I'll watch one that will be fun and one that will be rough and another one that will be boring, and then it's my energy starts to fade, and this is a very good lift everything up. But it's early, so now my expectations for everything are sky high.
It's a pick-me-up. I think my only complaint right now is that there's not a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Blu-ray. Bring it on.
Clearly the budget for this movie was I don't know, 17 Canadian dollars. So it's not that it would look great on Blu-ray, it's just that I would want to own this and watch this. This is a joy of a movie for people like us, I think.
Oh yeah, I think it would be good for parties and get-togethers for sure.
So we'll do a little background and then we'll go into the plot. This is, so it's, again, an original horror comedy is the easiest way to describe it, I'd say. Directed by Emma Jean Sutherland, who has worked on other Christmas movies as assistant director and, clearly was in the, I think, what do they call it, Canadian Hollywood for a while, working in various capacities. So I think this is their first full directorial movie. And then the screenwriter is Michael Zara, who is also, this was his first, I think, full screenplay, first full movie. He's worked again in the industry for a while. Everything about these people sounds delightful and like I want to be their best friends.
Yes.
You listened to an interview with Michael Zara. I read one. What are your kind of takeaways of Michael Zara?
Yeah, sounds like a delightful person, and I am hoping that Michael will get more work, and then we'll get to enjoy more movies.
Yes.
This is really fantastic. It went way beyond my expectation. I know you were describing it as a horror comedy. I would almost describe it as like a scary movie of Hallmark movie, like a scary movie like parody.
I like that way of looking at it.
Kind of like how it's like kind of a parody of the entire genre, but with a horror comedy, bent.
Yep.
And it had so many great things, and it's also like joyfully queer in many ways as well.
Lots of it. Yeah, lots of it all around, both campy, obvious and part of the story, and then I think there's a lot more that I didn't know of. Most of the actors are queer, and they're one of the love interests is trans. Like there's all things in there that I just didn't even realize, and that's just really cool. You talk about diversity in these movies, and in fairness, the networks are getting better. We do have more, it's still cookie cutter, but there are more people of color. There is a little bit more non-heterosexuality, even on Hallmark. That's why Candace Cameron Bure started her own network, fuck her. But this is absolutely just joyous and very gay feeling. The one interview I read with Michael Zara was one of those things where immediately you're like, oh, this person in me. So he talks about his favorite movies that really influenced him. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, which is my favorite of nightmare movies. Teen Witch, Troop Beverly Hills, and The Little Mermaid. All of which are movies that were formative for me as well. So
all good choices.
Definitely. And apparently he did a Teen Witch musical parody with the Groundlings, and I'm gonna see I wonder if there's a video of that anywhere, because I'm sure that's a delightful.
Oh yeah.
So why don't we go into the plot of Letters to Satan Claus? Would you like to take a stab? Because they're stabbing.
Take a stab.
Yeah. See,
I'll try.
Got my Crypt Keeper on today.
There is as part of your list, there is a female lead possibly in need of a lesson. Holly Winters, aka Holly Frost. Who is a hard-working cutthroat reporter at a TV station and gets sent back to her hometown of Ornaments.
Funny that. It never happens.
Christmassiest town ever. It turns out that when she really doesn't want to go there. She hates Christmas and it just wants to, but she really wants that promotion, so she's going to do it. And it turns out that she has some flashbacks when she was a kid, or something happened to her parents. They got murdered, and it turns out that she had accidentally wrote Satan instead of Santa when she was writing a Dear Santa letter to get a present, to ask him for a gift. However, she did ask Santa. She was aiming to ask Santa to get rid of her parents, and it went to Satan. So anyway, her wish got granted
in a wonderful way on Christmas morning.
Yes, and she goes to town with a handsome widowed cameraman who also has a child, and she's kind of cranky the whole time. Meets various townspeople. The mayor, who is hilarious and has a sash that says mayor on it. And
a red and green sash, of course.
Yes, they're all preparing for the Christmas festivities. And You meet various hilarious characters. Almost all of them have Christmas themed names, and there is a lot of really great dialogue and a lot of and Satan. She realizes Satan comes, and one of my favorite things is she gets drunk, which she often is during the story, and she writes another letter to Satan, and she goes, "Thanks for ruining Christmas, Dick." And that's in the letter, and that made me laugh really hard. She read the letter, and then Satan came back and proceeds to murder everyone around her till they
In
have to figure out
glorious
how to
Christmas
resolve.
themed ways.
Yes, in Christmas themed ways that are hilarious until just to figure out. And there are more and more love interests that get introduced, and then that resolves in a great way too. And she has to figure out how to get rid of Satan, keep him from killing everyone in the town.
Yeah. And because this might be important to people, spoiler alert, it's a happy ending, you could say, right? They restore the spirit of Christmas, everybody that's dead comes back, and in the end, she looks around because she has her choice now of singled widowed dads and everything, and she goes for, the one that clearly is going to be, really good in bed. That's kind of what I got out of that. Right, she kind of looks around, she's like, I don't know, you're kind of lame, you're really square, but you can dance, so...
She
totally
said
into
you're
it.
bland, which I thought she called them bland.
She
which
did!
I said that bland was your actual terminology.
It is!
She actually called them bland, and she went with the only Jewish character, which I thought was great. Everything about it, it was a total delight, and the ending was a totally uplifting movie overall, even though there are murders in it, and it's gory, so it's kind of hilarious. It walks that line really successfully.
And it manages, it's really so much fun. And we'll go into the details of some of, the weird little things about it. But, as much as it's not pulling punches, she is such a mean woman, and I love her.
Yes.
But it's also, the movie isn't mean. And it could be. One of the storylines is that her aunt is a baker and lost all this weight, and the way she lost weight is because she thinks of... This is so great. She now... she used to always eat her cookies, but now she won't anymore because she pretends the cookies are people. So she doesn't want to eat her children.
Right?
She doesn't want to eat her children. And, you could have fat jokes. You could have... I don't know, there's so many... we've all seen a million horror comedies and just horror movies in general, and, they can all go a certain way. And this doesn't. Somehow it manages to have great cancer jokes and be, funny and upbeat about it without ever being offensive. It's really a total joy.
Yes, they pulled off something amazing, and I really hope more people will watch this, and I wish it was more available. Like I said, I was honestly looking for a disc, so, because I would keep it, and this is a repeat watch. Yeah. And I was laughing out loud the whole time.
Same!
So if you want a good time, I recommend it.
Yeah. It has a 4.8 out of 10 on IMDb. You read the reviews. I know, it's terrible. I'm going to have to do that thing where I log into IMDb once every 7 years to leave a 10-star review for something. So that will be my evening. It's one of those things where I guess if you're not the audience for it, it's just not going to make any sense. But it's really clear what it's doing. And it's not, there have been other parodies of this. Last year was the Comedy Central, a Kloosterfook Christmas, which was fun, had a lot of really great moments. But honestly, this is better.
This really made me laugh, and I don't laugh out loud a lot.
Me neither.
So, and it got me going. And the movie long. It was great. So it's rare.
So let's dive into our tropes and what we expect from these movies, and we get most of it here, even though it is not the typical movie. First is our female in need of a lesson, and one could argue that Holly certainly needs to learn to, or does she? She learns things, and then she decides, fuck them, I like the way I was.
Yeah, I think that, again, since it's a parody of the genre, I think that it worked really well, where you had this character that's really typical of a lead in certain ways, but it's kind of funny because she's almost in her own thing, and everyone's just the whole town is in its Christmassy happy cloud around her, and even when she's nasty to everyone, they're kind of oh, whatever, kind of move on.
Yes.
And they and she's just drinking the whole time.
I love it.
It's very funny. It's almost like if is it Patsy from Ab Fab in some
yes.
way
Yeah.
kind of stumbled into the situation, only she's just kind of doesn't give a crap about what anyone around her's thinking. She just wants what she wants to do.
Yep.
And is a pretty selfish character, but also just sympathetic enough to keep you with her. So.
And like, kind of, ultimately she's going after what she wants. I respect that.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about that when we get to the love interest part.
Oh yes, we will. Okay, so number 2 is our setting, which obviously in this case is a charming small town of ornaments. Ornaments, and I feel like it was probably spelled with an exclamation point.
That was such a funny name to me. It was.
Just because, like, usually it's like, Frosty Valley or, Santa Cove. Like, it's like, no, just call it fucking ornaments.
It doesn't sound like a town name. That's why it's so funny.
It's like, and like in your mind, you're like picturing a map. It's like, oh yes, it's probably surrounded by like Candy Caneville and Santa Claus or something, because it's just so simple, and sometimes the simple joke is the funny one. I tell you, smart. This movie's very smart.
Yes.
Now, number 3 is our bland love interest. Typically, in this case, widow dad. We don't get any poor little rich boys, but we get so many. Let's see. Because I don't even think I got them all. First is the cameraman. And this introduction to the cameraman is so great because she gets in her car to meet her cameraman, and the music does the thing it does, and he's really good looking. And like she does the like eyebrow thing, and then she sees that he has a cross earring. And everything goes down. But then she finds out, because there's like a picture of a kid, and she's like, oh, who's that? He's like, it's my kid. Oh, so you're married. Well, I was. My wife died. Oh, I'm sorry. I have cancer. What kind of cancer? And he just looks at her and shouts, cancer! Which, for me, that was when I was sold. That was maybe like 10 minutes in. I'm like, oh, this movie gets it. It gets it. Ugh.
Yeah, and then you have the widowed father with a kid.
Widowed dad number 2.
The name, okay, so the cameraman's name is Cameraman Sam. I think there's no last name. Then Chris Pringle is her ex, who has widowed and has a kid.
Oh my god! And we'll get to the kid, I guess, in Cloying Child, but this kid is the greatest part of this movie.
Then you have the policeman Cole Reith, like just everybody's name like Reith. Yep. It really made me laugh. And then you also, like, I think it was I forgot there's the spoiler, the person she ends up with, who is
the Jewish waiter, right?
Jack Goldman, the only Jewish family in town who are harassed by vaping teens, and the way the vaping teens harass them is they without permission decorate their house with Christmas lights, and that's the biggest crime the cops have to worry about.
Yep, those damn vaping until murders. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, even the cop, like, we get like a hot cop, and he's black. And at one point she's like, oh, are you related to this other black character? He's like, why? Because we're black? She's like, yeah, you're the only black people in town, and you have the same last name. He's like, yeah, she's my sister. Like, that's great. The one thing, I think it's with the widowed dad number 2, where at one point they kiss, and I think he says it. He's like, no, it's too soon. Yeah. And she's like, oh, is it because of your wife? And he's like, no. You're like, oh, right, because we're only an hour in. You're not supposed to kiss until the very last scene in these movies. We can't have kissing before then, because then where does it go from there? It's wild. We can't handle that. Mm-hmm. So again, I feel like that was like a little tiny joke that was meant for people that watch these movies.
I didn't pick up on that. I haven't seen enough of those movies.
Oh, yeah. And then the one other character that I guess can go, I guess that's a sidekick character. Let me just make sure I don't forget. There's a reveal of one of the characters, but he is not a romantic character to our main lead. So we'll get there.
No, I loved this too. The farmer, John Smith, the hot farmer. I think he was, to my mind, the best looking of all the handsome guys.
And that's the thing, like, they are really hot. Like, there's some very good looking men in this movie. It's very pleasant. Yeah. You could talk about the reveal, because that blew my mind. But John Smith, the hot farmer, apple farmer. Yes. Okay, so we'll keep going, because when we get to Sassy Sidekick, I think that's where that goes. Yeah. So next we have montage, and less montages than I would have expected, because I think this movie actually had stuff to do, whereas normally montages are just there to like, oh no, we're only at 47 minutes, what do we do? Add a montage, add 7 montages. I only really clocked one, and it's definitely like a like fun one making fun of it, and it's the makeover montage where her sister
Yes,
is like
yes.
curling her hair. So
Yes,
great.
yes. So there were two, like that one, and then
Yes.
the much shorter one for the best friend.
Yes, which is
Where
also
they
a
put, they were both very short because,
Yeah.
like you said, they crammed a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
It was not a situation where they needed to put filler in.
Yep,
So
yep.
there's a lot going on. There are a lot of characters, but it all works.
It does. And I think it's a really interesting thing to realize is that most of these movies utilize the montage both for budget reasons, because it's a matter of like, oh, we need to establish time moving and we only have 16 days to film, but also because they just have to fill time. They don't have anything to do in these movies. And this oh no, a montage, okay, we can get one joke in a montage, but we have a lot of other jokes we want to tell, so we'll tell them in the movie.
Yeah.
No, number 5 is our dead parents or dead wife, and we've got oodles of them. So many of them.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Did we mention exactly how we find out? Now, dead parents is obviously a long-running
No, you
theme.
You should say.
I love it because it is Christmas morning, and her sister are like, just coming down to open presents early, and they open the box, and what's in the box but their parents' fucking heads.
Yeah, Satan dismembered their parents and gave the parts to them in boxes.
Oh, I love it.
It's crazy.
There's also a great moment when she's very drunk, and when she first meets the hot cops, and she's flirting with them, and at one point she says to the cop, "I bet your parents are hot too," and he says, "They're dead." Yep.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
Yeah. Number 6 is our sassy sidekick, and we have quite a few here.
Mm-hmm.
So there is her sister Cookie. Now Cookie doesn't. One thing I was disappointed by: Cookie doesn't wear dangly earrings, but Cookie's hair is kind of an earring. It's in it the way it is, like
very,
right. It's almost
curled.
like the front wispy curls that are like working very hard. We have her friends. So there's Joy, who is the only other black character in the movie, and then Chad, the baker.
Chad Pringle. He's the one like I really zeroed in on as the sassy sidekick.
Oh, and he's great. And Chad, what is great about this one, because often this doesn't happen because the movies don't think it's worth it, but Chad, our gay baker, gets a real happy ending. Can you reveal his happy ending?
Yes. So we learn that he has a crush on John Smith, who's the local hot apple farmer, who calls him Chatty, which I thought was really cute. And she, to try to get Santa to come and save Christmas, has to do a good deed. So her good deed is she makes it happen, that she kind of gets them to know they like each other. They liked each other, but they didn't know each other liked each other. Mm-hmm. So she kind of pushes them along to go on a date, and they start dating immediately, of course. And then one of the things that happen is at the climax of the movie is that he reveals that he is Johannes Strudel, the Prince of Monaco. and then he's like, "Do you mean Monaco?" He's like, "No, Monaco."
No, I do not, sir. I said what I said.
Oh my God, it made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
And then they had a big kiss.
Yep. And then Chad's like, "Oh, we've only been," because he's like, "Will you marry me?" Chad's like, "We've been dating for like 12 hours." And he's like, "Yeah, all right, sure. You're a prince. Cool."
And he said something that I think was probably a reference to one of these movies, but he was like, "Oh, the prince finally has his prince," or something. It sounded like one of those titles where he's like, "I had to find my prince so the prince can have his prince." I was like, that sounds like
the Christmas Prince is there's like 17 variations on the Christmas Prince in terms of titles. So yes. That reveal also had me laughing out loud. I was so happy. I'm like, secret prince reveal, because it is not on my bingo card, because it's very. It's not that it either happens or it doesn't, because it's either a royal movie or it's not a royal movie, and that made me very happy.
I love they crammed it, like, I don't think cramming it doesn't, they got it in, they wrote it skillfully in, because it was kind of like a lot of other climactic things were going around and romances stuff going on, and the fact that was just a side character who got like this really great happy ending, it made me laugh.
And I think also it was very much something that like the filmmaking team wanted to do was they wanted to make sure there was queer romance in here too. And it's there, and it's actually a happier ending than like the straight character in this movie. So
Yeah.
it's great. Now our villain character, which can be an evil woman or it can be a boss. I guess technically, or it can be Santa, who I think Santa is non-binary. So it's really, you have like all three types of villains in this movie.
Yeah.
You have an evil woman because you have Danica the mayor, who we mentioned. So I was thinking about this because Danica is not a common name. When you think Danica, is there like one person that comes to mind?
I'm not sure offhand.
Because you don't watch these Christmas movies, but if you did watch Christmas movies, you'd immediately say, oh, Danica McKellar from the Wonder Years, who's in a bunch of these, and I don't get why, because I think she has very little personality in these movies, but I wondered if that was a reference to her. I'm not sure.
That might be. It might be.
She also I like her boss at the radio station. Or the
Kevin
news station.
Kevins. Yeah, he was very funny, though. He was definitely
great.
sexist, but he just was like, well, I'm going to fire the lead woman because she's pregnant because it makes me uncomfortable.
Yes.
And you can have her job if you do this. So, not exactly a villain, but not exactly a great person.
But still fun to watch.
Yeah, but Mayor Danica was hilarious, and I thought that twist that very unexpected romantic twist at the end where, I don't know if we're going to talk about that now or not, but the mayor, so at the end romance reveal for our heroine is that she basically has a chance with all these widowed handsome guys and the cop, but she decides not to go with any of them. She hooks up with the only Jewish guy in town who can dance, and also immediately asks Danica and her assistant / girlfriend Joy for a 4-way, and that's like the happy romantic ending.
Yes, as all of these movies should. And I mean, for all we know, they do end that way. It's like usually these, like on Hallmark and Lifetime, the movies end and the credits start playing while the next movie starts. But like, for all you know, the movie's still going on, and every movie ends in a 4-way. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be. That was amazing, and also I also appreciate that she under no circumstances wanted to have kids. So that was like one big reason why she didn't want to deal with these guys. But then they were all
children,
and they were all bland.
Yep.
So she was nope.
Yep, smart one. So number 8 is our slapstick. We get a lot of in the beginning her like walking through town and just banging into everybody with Christmas decorations and presents, which I appreciate. I guess that's most of it. The rest again.
My favorite, I think one of the things that made me laugh the most that I found kind of slapstick was the teenage barista seduction and death scene.
Oh, I love them so much.
These the teenage side characters who were like the baristas, and they had a whole pretty long scene where the girl's like trying to seduce her
coworker
and
who's not overly versed in seduction.
And it's hilarious because they're both wearing fake mustaches, I think, or at least she is, which made it very funny. And there was a line on here. I definitely wrote down some of these lines because I was like, this is, I was taking some screenshots.
Nice.
While I was watching this, so let me prepare. But she was very not smoothly trying to. She says, "Now take off that damn apron, you sexy elf." She tried to get him to hook up with her during work hours, which was hard. It was taking some convincing, but then eventually Satan starts playing the Christmas music they were complaining about not liking, louder and louder and louder until their ears start bleeding, and they get killed that way.
Glorious.
It was hilarious.
Just glorious. Let's see. Number 9 is the sage old person. Now the oldest character in this dies a very unfortunate death, and that is her Aunt Becky. And Aunt Becky, like many characters in this movie, had to raise our lead since her parents died. And Aunt Becky doesn't get a chance to really give much wisdom because she dies by her after she eats her cookies, who start talking to her and saying, "Why did you kill me?" It's glorious, but we don't get that wisdom, do we?
Not much wisdom, but you have Aunt Becky and you have Santa Claus, who appears for like a minute in the end, but that doesn't really. Santa Claus mails them a letter on how to beat Satan.
That's true.
But there isn't any in-person Santa Claus wisdom giving, but there is letter, so only
There's a
Santa, I guess.
Yeah, so number 10 is Santa Claus, and we do get Santa. Satan Claus is more prominent, obviously, but yes, there's a little bit of Santa magic in this. So, we hit 9 out of 10. It's all good. So on to the bonus rounds. The first being the absurdly unlimited use of public domain holiday songs. There's a lot, but not nearly as many as I would have expected for considering the little money this movie was clearly made with.
Yeah, I actually thought that the score was good because it had they did manage to mix things like sort of spooky sounding Christmas music. So they'd have sort of spooky sounding music, but like with some Christmassy tones or choral tones, and it actually worked pretty well to have like Christmas horror soundtrack. So I think the score was pretty good, but they did have one of the cops saying "Joy to the World."
Yes.
When he was trying out to go caroling with Aunt Becky, who rejected him cruelly, and I don't think he should have been rejected. I think he should have been allowed to be on the carolers, but I guess she didn't need someone in his range at that time.
Yes.
But he did do a pretty long rendition of Joy to the World. So
good catch.
We'd hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point about the score. Like, it's actually a good score for... I'm just so used to these movies just reusing the same score over and over again. But there is actually composing to this movie.
Yeah.
There's even one part where at one point I thought, like, ooh, I hope Danny Elfman's not listening, because that sounds exactly like the Edward Scissorhands music.
Really? It's that kind of...
Right,
haunting, wintry Christmas music, which is appropriate for this, for sure.
Yes. And we do get an original song, and I'm going to hunt for it because I would love to find it. Like, I don't even know, I didn't get to write enough lyrics down as I watched it, but it's like this weird sort of, like, sexy Santa song where they keep saying, like, put your hat on me, and then the lyrics start to get really, really strange.
I think it was called Sassy Santa.
Sassy Santa?
But,
okay.
I don't remember the lyrics, but I think that might have been the title.
Okay, I am making a note to find it, because I need to play that at parties from now on. Number 2 is our secret family recipe, which isn't, I guess, like, the recipe itself isn't, we just get a lot of cookies.
Yeah, Aunt Becky has awesome cookies, and there are pies, and really nice looking desserts. I wish I had some. But yeah, they look good.
Yeah.
The small business. So I was going to say, for the small business in danger, I took note where in the flashback where her parents, the reason they can't get her the gift she wants, which is why she writes a letter to complain to Satan/Santa. Dad, I believe, mentions the Christmas tree skirt factory closed down, and that was the first time I laughed really loud.
Oh my god, I didn't even catch that. That's amazing.
It was really fast, but it was like it was a flashback. You're first introduced to this town of ornaments, and she's with her parents, and her dad's like, "I'm sorry, but the Christmas tree skirt factory closed." And I was like, "Just for the skirts?" That's
glorious. No, that's why this movie is so great, because it is the details. Like, and that's one of my favorite things about, like, a good joke in a movie, where it's not just the big joke. It's like, no. It's not the Christmas tree farm. It's the Christmas tree skirt farm. Like, it's got to be that one extra level.
Skirt factory. Yeah, totally.
I don't think there was product placement, but let's talk about our cloying child, because this made me
annoying
so happy.
Teenage daughter Faith, another funny name, who's her ex's kid, who is generously maybe in her late 20s.
Like, she's a grown woman.
They did it on purpose, or mid 20s.
love it.
Like, definitely, they cast an adult woman as his teenage daughter, and it was very funny.
Oh, it's so great, because only Holly notices it, or only Holly, like, addresses the whole, like, no, is, like, do we not realize that this weird woman child is, like, calling you daddy, and what is going on here? And, like, nobody else cares, nobody else notices it. She kind of, at one point, Holly softens and is like, okay, I'll go with it, and then it's finally like, no, this is fucking weird. I loved it so much. It made me very happy.
Yes.
Obviously, we have a lot of holiday-themed names. Just the fact that, like, Holly changes her name from Winters to Frost and is very adamant about how important that is, and everybody else is like, no, it's kind of the same.
All of them, yes, but I do think that I probably ended like loving Johannes Strudel, the prince's name, the most. That made me laugh so hard. Johannes Strudel.
Just saying that out loud is really funny. Oh, yes, best movie ever made. Okay, number 7, Finding the Perfect Tree. I guess we don't really get too much tree-ness in here, maybe because of the harsh memories of the Christmas tree skirt factory closing.
We should note that like one thing that happens that's like one of the major set pieces is that Satan comes back because she wrote him a nasty letter when she came back to town, and like repeats what happened with her parents to every kid in town when they do a Christmas. They're doing some kind of kids Christmas unwrapping thing on TV, live on TV,
Yep.
and they have a big tree, and all the kids in town come and they open the gifts, and it's all their parents.
That's all their parents' heads. Oh, yes.
So that is tree related, but it's not decorating, perfect tree
Yep.
related. But it was crazy.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I like that's one of those things like Smile. The movie Smile does that. The movie Smile isn't great, but like it has like that one scene where you're like, oh no, they're gonna open a present and something dead's gonna be in there, and I know it's gonna be in there, and like you're waiting for it. I love a good present gag reveal.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if it was. I'll say I'm not positive if it was all of their own parents, but basically they opened. It was all the kids opening presents. It's kind of like having a Toys for Tots where people came and then they open the boxes and it's all dismembered body parts.
Yep. Oh, it's right. It's not even just heads. It's also like foot and hands and.
Yeah. There were
good
hands
times.
and feet.
Good times. Okay, ridiculously elaborate holiday cocktails. Less the cocktails, but more the coffee drinks themselves.
Yeah, the hot chocolate peppermint lattes and hot chocolate festival. But she was drinking a ton of straight from the bottle liquor.
Yes, because like she's like, can I just get coffee? They're like, coffee? No, we have peppermint pumpkin, mocha mistletoe. Like,
yeah.
And then when the 2 baristas in town go missing, like nobody else can make coffee at all.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was funny.
Empty coffee cup acting. I mean, yes, it's definitely there. There's also empty present acting, where like giant present handed, and they just kind of like twirled around their hand. I appreciate that.
And wine bottle acting, I assume.
Lots of that.
There was a
flasks.
lot of wine bottle drinking.
Definitely. Actors trying hard not to take a bite of something on camera. I mean, it's a whole plot point with poor Aunt Becky.
Well, I think they went the opposite because like she really ate the cookies and they went close up in on the bloody frosting.
Yep.
It was not. It was gross, but in a funny way. But they subverted, like so many things. This movie subverted that big time. It subverts a lot of the tropes or mocks the tropes. So.
And that's why number 11 is Canadianisms. And the question is, like, did they lean into it and say, like, no, you're going to pronounce it about, not about. Because they have so much Canadianisms in a lot of the... And because I'm sure most of the cast is probably Canadian. And I wonder if it was, like, encouraged or just not corrected.
Yeah, I'm not as good at picking that out as... so I
watched a lot of these in my day. And then last, number 12, our warm weather watch. I love when they walk into town and they're just wearing like sweaters and it's snowing on them and they're fine.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Well, that's ornaments, it seems like some kind of magical town.
Yeah. So, I end this always asking, would you recommend this movie and who would you recommend it to?
I think it's clear. It's number 1 of all Christmas movies.
The best one ever made. Go home, Christmas Story. Your time is over.
Yeah, no, I would way prefer to watch this again over Christmas Story. And I think that, again, I hope they make a Blu-ray or something. This is definitely something that you can buy hopefully one day and have it to show your friends annually because it is very funny and it's very charming and it, even though it is gory and about Satan, it is extremely heartwarming is not very, but it's very uplifting. It will lift your mood.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's sweet because it's like, it's not. Like it has, like it's biting, but it's joyful, I think.
Yeah, it's a mood lifter. And it's especially if I'm sure I was thinking as I was watching it, I was like, Emily, who is like really an expert on these movies, is going to love this because people who watch these, regularly, there's probably a lot. Like I am not a regular Christmas movie viewer, so I'm sure there were jokes I missed. But the ones I got, I just loved a lot. And there were so many little touches and so many things, jokes, details. The script is just so funny. Yeah. I was laughing out loud a lot.
Oh, yeah. I'm keeping my eye out for both the writer and the director. And I think it's like SyFy Channel, which kind of goes up and down in sort of how it's perceived. Like it's had some highs, it's had some lows. I feel like the last few years, some of their original content is really good and interesting and isn't really finding an audience. I think Chucky might change that because Chucky, which is like everything I've ever wanted in life, is a delight and seems to really like I think the ratings are very good. Clearly the social media engagement's really high. And like this, I feel like if you like Chucky, you would like this. And like they do other like Santa Jaws they did I think the same year as this or maybe the year before. And it's like that similar kind of energy. Astrid and Lily Save the World is a series they did, and I don't know if it got canceled or not, but like the same, like, a lot of queerness, a lot of just like weird goofiness, but also like with heart. And there's like a lot of their original content has this kind of attitude. And I don't think they get enough credit for that because I think it's in the middle of so many Harry Potter marathons. So
I'll try to watch some more because I'm definitely curious to see what else they're doing that might be in this vein.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so good. And I wanted to like, I took note on some of the one-liners I thought were very funny. So I think there's one she first sees Aunt Becky. I believe she says, "Why are you dressed like you're about to serve us a fruitcake?" And that made me laugh. Yeah, and then there are just a lot of great lines, and people should check it out, and it will give you some Christmas cheer and a Hanukkah cheer. Even it has no Hanukkah theme, but as someone who's not Christian watching it, I was pleased that they mentioned that people who weren't Christian existed at least, so that was good. And actually, something else I thought was very funny was the one thing that the cops are always worried about in town are the teen what do you go? Vaporize. They're vaping. The vaping teens.
Vaping teens.
And there's a part where the sassy sidekick is talking with her, and because everybody's blaming these vaping teens for what's going on, and he's like, "Well, they don't know it's Christmas time. They're vapists."
Oh.
Yeah, that really made me laugh because it's like there's cops there, but the only thing that they're enforcing is like trying to like move the vaping teens along out of the street.
You know, if that's your town's biggest problem, you're in a pretty good town.
Well, they were really not prepared for an onslaught.
That is the problem with a town like that.
So that was, and we should mention Satan, and it turns out the cast was the same actress as Satan was Santa.
Nice, very nice.
I saw that in the IMDb.
Very nice. I like it.
But yeah, and so it was pretty cool. But Satan had tons of heavy makeup, so you couldn't really see what was going on. You just heard them. But
Yes.
I thought it was pretty reasonable makeup for Satan too. Satan Claus.
The makeup,
it was
it was a look. It was again, clearly the budget on this movie was not high. You can tell just by, and some of that I think is almost not deliberate in like where they spent and didn't spend, but it had that feeling a little bit of like nothing feels green screened, which often like these can, like it just feels like no, they're in a room and they just threw up the Christmas decorations and go, you're in set. And but at the same time, like they clearly the wardrobe and the costumes are very particular. Whoever did it, I'm sure wasn't working with a lot, but they understood exactly what colors, which characters should be in, the details of, gingerbread buttons and all of that. And even in the makeup of Satan, like they understood how to, with little, make the look correct for what they were trying to do. And it really works. Like, this is just so joyful.
Yeah, and I'll mention some of the kills because I thought it was kind of funny.
Yes.
There was death by Christmas music.
Yep.
And they were so upset with the Christmas music, actually, one of the victims stabbed himself in the ear with a candy cane.
Nice.
To try to stop the horrible Christmas music from killing them. Didn't work. Then you have Death by Cookies, which was probably the best one, probably one of my favorite. Death by Holiday Dress.
Yes.
And then Death by Snowman.
Death by Snowman, because Joy is the international snowman building champion.
Yes, the competitive snowman building. That made me laugh a lot, too.
Same.
That was great.
So everybody, check this movie out, please. It's really good and fun, and I hope we have sold it to you by now. Abby, you have exciting things to announce and to tell people about. Tell us about some of them.
Yes,
if you are stuffing a stocking, stuffing a stocking stuffer, what could you put in, perhaps? Something that you have stuffed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
how
I
that
actually
goes.
had 2 books come out this year.
Yay!
The most recent one is Kitty Sweet Tooth Makes a Movie, which is the
Woo!
sequel to Kitty Sweet Tooth, illustrated by the brilliant artist Udomaru, and it is about a really cheerful, fun, and cute cat who is extremely ambitious. And in book 2, it becomes a movie director, and with her
Yay!
and her friends, they go in a transforming movie-making vehicle all around, like underwater, into space, and all over the place, and they have all kinds of adventures while they're trying to make a movie.
Nice.
And it was really fun, and I think kids and adults will like it. It has movie references just like the first Kitty Sweet Tooth book does.
Awesome.
And then also, earlier this year, my other book, Uniquely Japan, came out, which is a really cool hardcover book about Japanese cultural topics. So yes, I did draw Godzilla in it. So I drew that one, and it has my photos and my art in it. So check it out.
Very cool. Do they find that at your website or at Amazon or at their local
Anywhere
independent
books are
bookstore?
sold. Yeah, you can get them anywhere books are sold at all. Like they're, yes, you can get Barnes and Noble, Amazon.com, all that stuff, but also at your local store. Books of Wonder, Kinokuniya, and Books Are Magic have signed copies, and I think that all of them have online ways of getting them. So if you know those stores, check them out. But yeah, it's been having fun. It's been a busy year.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for both joining me and for allowing me to watch this movie. I will forever be in your debt on those counts.
Well, I think we have similar tastes, because I feel like when I've been on the show earlier, when I bring movies, usually you and Christine enjoy the movies, so it makes me happy.
Yeah, you're batting a good average right now, so keep it up. All right, folks, that is Letters to Satan Claus. Find it wherever you can find things on the SyFy Channel. Find Abby Denson's books wherever you find books. And be very careful. And this is a great, if nothing else too, this movie is a great lesson in proofreading your work and making sure that you have edited before sending off any kind of writing. And in this case, it's a letter to Satan Claus. So have at it, folks.
Would you like to see something new? Put that hat on me. Put it on me. And baby, take my hand. Have a Christmas dance. Is this what you pictured all year long? Put your gingerbread man in my oven instead. Nice and toasty for you this year. I'll be your
Wow, howdy, partners.
Do you hear that?
My heart beating like a little drummer boy?
No,